We realize that this session could be a really difficult one for some couples. We talked in the last unit all about how there are things that we do that are barriers to communication. And in this one, we really want to start switching over and talk about how do you move forward. And part of that's going to be forgiveness. Now, what we have realized over the course of our working with being a pastor at a church and then working with couples is that people, unfortunately, even though forgiveness is central to the Christian faith, really don't oftentimes understand what forgiveness is all about. We look at forgiveness, and usually most people would say, well, I need to forgive, and the only way I can be forgiven, or I need to be forgiven to forgive. And really it isn't working that way. So we first want to start talking about what is forgiveness. Now, in the book, there actually is a definition that I think is worthy. And I'm not going to read the whole thing to you because you're literate people. But part of what it talks about is this idea of overcoming the negative feelings and behaviors, not by denying the offense ever happened. And I think that's a key thing when we talk about this, isn't it? Because if you don't acknowledge, hey, this is what happened, but we just want to sweep it under the rug, it's going to come back up. And after a while, that rug is going to be really, really lumpy with all the stuff under there, and you're going to start going back to your anti-leveling of character assassination or complaining constantly or bringing these things up. And so instead, what we want to do is be able to forgive by letting go of the hurt and pain that's attached to the offense. That's awfully hard. And that doesn't mean that we're immediately reestablishing trust. That's a different thing that we're going to talk about later called reconciliation. But then we also want to talk about what forgiveness isn't. It's not a denial or an indifference. And it's also not a pardon or that reconciliation piece. But also, my accepting forgiveness is not dependent on Abigail asking for forgiveness. And at the same time, for me to grant forgiveness doesn't mean that Abigail needs to come to me and ask for forgiveness. What forgiveness is all about is me being able to let go of these things. And we're going to talk about that in the next video, so bear with us. But when I seek forgiveness, it's so that I can be released from that. Now, ultimately, only God can truly release us long term. But with the communication, with the relationship, we want to be able to talk about how we can do this together as well.
We want to clarify, too, the types of forgiveness that are required in life, because there are a lot of different kinds of things that we can need to forgive or need to ask forgiveness for. One is just a really simple one of a minor offense. I mean, say you forgot to run an errand or you forgot to do something you said you'd do. It could just be a minor offense, but that's something that you might still want to acknowledge and ask forgiveness for or choose to forgive. There are also very major events in our lives. There's the betrayal that might happen, some sort of major sin like fell into gambling, you drank or smoked when you had told your spouse you would quit. Those can be major forms of betrayal that you need to work through forgiveness for. But also want to introduce another one that we have seen time and time again with couples. That's when a fairly minor offense, like forgetting to run an errand or not doing the dishes like you said you would, turns into a repeated minor offense. In that way, it grows like a snowball. It's no longer just the dishes. It's again and again and again you saying that you would do something and not doing it, or going through something that you shouldn't have done. So it's these minor things. And so sometimes people don't understand, oh, well, that's just this little thing. No, it's not a little thing to me, because it's been this little thing over and over and over. And those issues need to be addressed. Otherwise, the rug gets lumpy, like Scott was saying.
Now, how do we, though, go about it not seeming like constant complaining or kitchen sinking, right? I guess probably the bigger one is, that if I were to say to you, well, you didn't do this, Aaron, and yeah, I think so. Working through that.
Yeah, and it's so important to recognize you can only attack one thing at a time. If you try to spread yourself out over multiple issues or multiple time, then you're going to be in trouble, because it's really difficult to pin that down. So as much as possible, you want to process through and be thinking, what is the main crux of the issue here, and try to stick to that as much as you can.
And maybe even talking about hey, I'm seeing a pattern. Here's a couple of examples. Or something,
Just
something
be careful
to
not to stretch the pattern of.
Exactly, yeah.
The pattern is, you drive me crazy, and so let's go.
And so you really, I agree, these minor things that can build into a major are really key to understanding. But then also I think, and we've talked a lot about this, that it's important to understand bad ways to ask for forgiveness.
I'm sorry if that hurt you.
Yeah, I'm sorry I did that. I only did it though because you, right? These are, it's one of my favorites. I'm sorry if you feel that.
Right.
It's like, well.
And in your apology, you can minimize. Like, I'm sorry I did that little silly thing that you shouldn't really care about. You're just kind of minimizing it with the way you apologize. I'm sorry. That wasn't that big a deal. But hey, if it makes you feel better, I'm really sorry I did that.
And so we want to help you not minimize the issue. Now, we're going to talk about this in the next video, but we just wanted to prep you that we're going to talk about this a little bit differently than what you, how you may normally do this. And you're going to find in the next video, it doesn't start with actually asking for forgiveness. So we're looking forward to continuing this conversation with you.